I wonder what Paul is saying to Dorian in this picture. It looks like Dorian's kind of grimacing back, thinking, don't try it, buddy, or I would whack you a good one. No, I'm just joking. I'm sure it was fairly peaceful. Paul Dillett, Dorian Yates, 1994. 9 times out of 10, I would say Dorian has this matchup in the bag between these two. But Dorian was not at his peak at all. Torn bicep, things of that nature. And Paul Dillett, this was his best version overall, in my opinion. So I think he has a good chance to defeat Dorian Yates in a one-on-one matchup, because he sure is defeating Dorian in this front relaxed position. I can't see even the most devout Dorianite arguing that statement. And honestly, guys, if there is the most devout Dorianite out there listening to this, and they feel Dorian Yates is still winning this front relaxed position, I would like to know why. Really. Another one here, just to show that it wasn't a bad picture of Dorian. Not a good one amongst them as far as the front relaxed position. Look at the abdominals of Paul Dillett. Just unreal, dreamlike. Let's have another one here, and this is an actual on-stage, but very unclear picture. But the only thing that is clear is that Dorian would, in fact, lose the front relaxed position to Paul Dillett. But when you turn them around, it goes towards Dorian, I think. I mean, look at the legs of Paul. And in the rear relaxed position, Paul looks pretty good, to tell you the truth. Even in this unclear picture, you can see the hard graininess of Dorian. He is twice as hard, twice as separated in the back muscles. And when you look at the calves, and even in the legs, the only thing Paul really is winning in is the glutes and the size. So I guess the overwhelming advantage Paul Dillett has in the front relaxed kind of gets washed away. A slight edge to Paul in the symmetry round. All right, guys, muscularity round. The muscle round begins with the front double bicep pose. And look at the muscles on Paul Dillett. Those biceps. First of all, that torn bicep of Dorian Yates. He's pretty much disqualified from this. But you look at the waistline. You look at the legs. Each and every body part. Paul Dillett is your champion here in this front double bicep pose. Probably of the entire night. Here's another one, a close-up. And even, like I said, the most devout Dorianite in all of the world and all of the land, so to speak, would admit full freely that he is at least losing this shot. They won't admit to an overall loss, but this shot here, especially to Paul Dillett, guys. But the front lat spread, all right, this one does go to Dorian. But with no lack of trying a Paul Dillett, it's that unsymmetrical lat. One of his lats does look fine, and I say this all the time, and I guess this is as good as any chance to test this theory. If Paul Dillett was symmetrical, he would probably have the best front lat spread of all time. Still, though, Dorian's lat is quite Dorian-esque. So is one of Paul's, and his size, he actually might get a victory over Dorian Yates. I said might there, I don't want to upset any of you Dorianites. Side chest pose. Let's face it, guys. There is certain poses Dorian's weak in and Paul Dillett is strong in. Like the side chest pose. There's no way Dorian is going to catch Paul in this one. So pretty much by default, Paul gets a point in the side chest pose. And then it gets pretty much taken away in the side tricep. Dorian, not the best version here, admittedly in 94 for this pose, but still enough to defeat Paul. Paul, this was the tricep, the side tricep that never was. This could have been an unbeatable pose for him if he had all he could do, or all he had to do was tilt his body and learn how to strike the pose correctly. But no, he had to hit it like this. Fades away to nothing. What a matchup, guys. 2 points for each, headed into the back shots, which is an obvious point for Dorian. This was always a weak point for Paul Dillett, and what a waste of a lower body. Probably the best lower body in all of bodybuilding. Actually, when you look, Dorian's legs and glutes are just as good, maybe even better than Paul Dillett's. It's just the display. Paul has his legs open a little bit more, and that's how they display them nowadays. But obviously, when you look at the back muscles, the meat, the hardness, Paul loses this one every time. The rear lat spread, unfortunately, I had to go with a 1993 Paul Dillett. But I mean, come on, guys. This is as unsymmetrical as the front lat spread, and not nearly as hard and as crisp as Dorian Yates. From the front, yes, his conditioning, top plus, as good or better than Dorian's. But the end of the day and the bottom line for conditioning is the rear shots, and Dorian Yates clearly superior to Paul Dillett in each of the back shot, rear double bi, and the rear lat spread. Ab and thigh, and this one is actually debatable. There is a hard, crisp graininess of Dorian Yates pretty much in every shot. I mean, it's always said time and time again for the people that witnessed him in real life. And Paul Dillett, let's face it, guys, with the silhouette, you almost have to give him this shot. He has one of the biggest, best six-packs in all of bodybuilding. But Dorian is boxing with him. It is debatable. But personally, I would lean towards Paul. But we are going into the most muscular, rather, which is a pose that they didn't really count. They didn't judge this one. And Dorian Yates is leading coming into this. So you're pretty much going to have to award the win to Dorian Yates because Paul is obviously winning this one. Here's an actual on-stage photo of them. You can really see how big Paul is. And if anybody thought I was misconstruing the sizes of these two, no, Paul, it was massive. Trust me. Very massive. So this one, at the end of the day, guys, it is debatable. In my mind, it is very debatable. But it is so close, a tie. You have to take into consideration Dorian was the much better poser for sure. And he would have won the pose down, or not the pose down, rather the individual posing routines, I should say. Paul would have won the pose down for sure. So again, another debate in my mind. But I do not want to get my house and car egged tonight, so Dorian Yates is your winner. And Paul Dillett was just as good. But for those of you who pretended not to hear that comment, Dorian Yates is your man, and 1994 was not his best year, for sure. So if any year he was going to get a loss to Paul Dillett, it would be 94, maybe 97. Ooh, there would be an idea. Hope you guys enjoyed this little controversial comparison. I guess I'm scared to hand Dorian a loss. But in actuality, guys, with the thought of their posing routines, he would actually get a slight edge, and that is just slight. So no disrespect meant to Paul Dillett here. He boxed with the 1994 Mr. Olympia champion, almost beat him. Hit thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Have a great day, guys.